everyone, it is the Bookatarian here for another video. Today I will be finally doing my book talk for The Shadow of Kyoshi by FCE and Michael Dante that is on my shelf back behind me. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, so I suppose it's probably not on the list for the favorites. So it's not quite on the favorite criteria. I have 5-star minimum for favorite books unless it's super memorable for some other reason. I don't know. That's not the point of this video, and I'm making gestures like a wild crazy person. I'll try to stop. So The Shadow of Kyoshi is the second book in the series that follows Avatar Kyoshi from the Avatar The Last Airbender world, and she is the Avatar that came before Avatar Roku, who was the Avatar that came before Aang. If you've seen Avatar and the Last Airbender, given that this is the second book in the series, you might not want to read it before you've read the first one. I would strongly advise that you watch Avatar The Last Airbender, at least like the whole show, all 3 seasons, before picking up Rise of Kyoshi, which is the first book in the series I mentioned, just because there's a lot of things that you could potentially spoil yourself for, or it would just make a lot more sense, I guess. The world would make more sense, the storyline, whatever, the magic would all be much better explained if you have watched at least the Avatar and the Last Airbender. The end of the first book, there's a little bit of a time jump, but aside from that, it's mostly picks up where you left off, pretty much. So if you haven't read this book and or seen the show or taken in all the content that you want to take in from this world before reading this book, I will say goodbye to you now. Anyway, so I have my book journal here where I keep a lot of my notes from the books that I've read. Okay, so we start off with Kyoshi, and she's by herself. Ba Sing Se, that's where she is. She's living in Ba Sing Se by herself. Rangi has gone with her mother to help her recovery from being poisoned in the events of the end of the last book. So she is with her mother helping her heal and all that jazz. So she's not a part of the picture in the beginning, and the Flying Opera Company is also Wong and I forget the lady's name. The waterbender lady. They are both MIA for like the entire book. And in the beginning it makes sense because Kyoshi is literally doing nothing but hunting down bands of Dao Fei. And so she's kind of half breaking her ode when she became a Dao Fei. So it makes sense why she wouldn't want to clue them in that she was doing that. So she's basically spending the entire several first chapters basically clearing out the city, and it's been about like 6 months or so since the ending of the first book. She's basically just been trying to clear out all the Dao Fei from the Earth Kingdom. It's very hard. She's starting a Ba Sing Se, which is the biggest accumulation of criminals in the entirety of the Earth Kingdom, and she has a secretary now, which I love. Junpa. I don't think I'm saying his name right. Junpa. But he is another air nomad like Kelsang was, but he's also something not quite the same. I forget what his entire backstory is, but he is not straightforward monk pacifist like we see Aang and his children, you know, Tenzin and the other air nomads, as well as Kelsang being. They have very non-violent pacifist, for the most part, idealism. Jinpa has mostly those ideals, but he also is more open-minded, and I really, really like that about him. And I also really love his lazy, adorably lazy sky bison, whose name I also cannot remember. And I did not write it down, so it's unfortunate. But his sky bison has got to be one of my favorite animal companions. So the beginning, that is what Kyoshi is doing, and she even ties up some loose ends from the first book. We catch up with Muck and his brother, whose name I can't remember. White? I think it's Wyatt. either way. So we catch up with the two other kind of evil gang leaders that we met in the first book, who were their brother challenged Kyoshi to that fatal duel and Kyoshi killed him. So we caught up with the other two and they're now in prison of some sort. I'm assuming that's where they got sent. And we get to see Kyoshi go through so much character development because we kind of saw her start to spiral a little bit from the time where she made her first kill. But then when she killed that third other brother, whose name I can't remember and don't care to, she did kill him, and she did kind of help kill evil Earthmaster. I can never remember anyone's names, mostly because they all sound so similar, but the main big baddie Earthmaster, who used to be Kyoshi's boss, she basically helped Yoon kill him, and so she's kind of spiraled a little bit down this darker path, and I'm glad that we see her wrestle with it a lot. And she also learns that, you know what, this can't just be all that I do. I have to find some kind of balance in dealing with all of these criminals, otherwise I'm no better than them. Basically is how her story arc went in this entire book, which I did love. But anyways, so we got some nice things kind of tied up, and basically, like I said, Jean-Pa is her secretary and handling all the correspondence that are coming to him, requesting that the Avatar come to bless our harvest, or just these random things that aren't really essential, but all of these lords and super rich people are like, hey, we want the Avatar to show up to show how cool we are, and what we're doing is blessed by the Avatar, and blah blah blah. And so Kyoshi's just like, anything at all interesting coming through here? The main plot picks up when Jean-Pa says, yeah, you know what, you got invited by the Fire Lord from the Fire Nation to go to this party, so you want to go? She's just like, yeah man, let's do it, which is really exciting because we get to see reunite with Rengi, who is my favorite character of all time. I kid you not, she is my favorite character of all time. Get to the Fire Nation and there's a party going on. There's a whole bunch of Earth Nation, like, important people there as well. And we see from Yoon. Yoon just shows up at this party, holds a whole bunch of people hostage, and basically announces that he wants to kill everyone who hurt him by not telling him that he was not the Avatar. And he mentions Rangi's mom, Heiran? Heiran. I think her name is Heiran. And immediately I was like, oh no, please leave Heiran alone. She's already had like one assassination attempt within the last year. Can we just keep it to a minimum? And, you know, this whole drama goes down that Rangi had confessed that she really wanted Kyoshi to keep her mother safe beyond anything else, basically, and Kyoshi almost failed to lure Yoon into this trap that they had kind of set up for him, and Rangi being mad for like a whole 5 seconds, and then she hears Jean-Pa say something about Kyoshi sometimes forgetting to eat, and she storms in all mad and puts the food down and is like, eat it, damn it, and walks away. Oh, that was a really good scene too. I love any scene with Rangi, basically, is my favorite. And so we come across Yoon again a few times throughout the span of this book, and Kyoshi doesn't know for sure. I mean, she has this belief of denial kind of going on, that she believes that Yoon is being completely possessed by Father Glowworm and he doesn't have any control over his actions whatsoever. Rangi, Jean-Pa, and Heiran are both kind of like, yeah, no, this cannot just all be blamed on the spirit. He's just really screwed up in the head now. You have to put an end to him. Either kill him or, I don't know, find some way to defeat him and put him in jail. And Kyoshi, for the longest time in this book, just doesn't want to. She hesitates so much in this book whenever it comes to Yoon because she is she cares deeply for him. You know, she's losing all these people that she cared a lot about, and so she doesn't want to willingly put another person she cares a lot about still in danger. So I get why she's hesitating, but it was just still really infuriating. Then I had to remind myself that she's only like 17 years old. Go along, and we're trying to find Yoon again to just end this, finally, and we end up going back to... She goes back to her hometown thinking that Yoon might be there. He does show up, and this whole fight that goes down has me just literally... Oh, I was losing my mind the entire time because it was so just intricate, and it was literally like I was watching a show version of it play out. That's how well it was described and paced, I think. It's always a good thing when action scenes literally just play out like a movie for me. Just, it makes it more dynamic, it makes it more enjoyable for me personally. So the whole fight, I was just like biting my nails, and then out of nowhere, like literally, if I'm going to complain about anything in this book, is how the Flying Opera Company just came up out of nowhere to aid Kyoshi in this fight, and Rangi was there too, of course. Rangi is basically with Kyoshi for the last half of the book, which is great. I was a little confused as to how they knew to show up at this fight at this random location. My theory is that they were kind of lurking in the area around this place on Kyoshi's behest. Like maybe she sent word to them sometime after she left the Fire Nation and realized that Yoon is gone completely off the freaking deep end. And once we get to see more about how he ate Father Glowworm, first of all, what did he taste like? What does eating a spirit taste like? Do they have a flavor? Is it just like air because, you know, they're a spirit and they're actually there? Like, what is that like? I have no idea, and I'm very curious to know about that now. But we get to see how that scene played out from Yoon's perspective, and it was really good. Again, tying up the loose ends, because we didn't see him for like 75% of the last book, and he is more present in this one up until the point where he does die. And after trying to kill Rangi, I was very much on team die Yoon die, because ain't nobody trying to be killing off Rangi. That's not happening. No. So I was really upset and hysterically sobbing when Yoon stabbed Rangi, and at the last second she had been trying to like master water healing. She had mentioned something about the water master from the Flying Opera Company had tried to show her healing with water bending. Forgot the word there. She had started teaching her how to do it, the basics of water bending in the first book, so I liked how Kyoshi kind of could do it. She could do it in little bursts, but now she kind of like really had to dig deep to make sure she could heal Rangi and everyone else, because like everybody else got severely injured in this fight, and it was so funny. It was so funny because at the time that Rangi gets stabbed, the other two from the Flying Opera Company had their legs like broken, and I was just like, oh, that was so brutal. I am a huge human anatomy freak. I hate reading about graphic things. Like if somebody's talking about their arm broken and like the details of the injury, I'm just like, nah, no, please stop. I don't ever want to hear about that. Nope. No. Blood is fine. Anything deeper than a blood wound makes me panic. So I did not like hearing about that. And when she focused on healing Rangi completely, and then they're in the kind of recovery tent afterwards, and Wong is like complaining like, oh yeah, don't worry about us, we're fine, we just can't walk or anything. And, oh, it was so good. This book, for some of its things that I was nitpicky about, it was also very short. It was fairly short, and that kind of disappointed me a little bit, because I'm the type of person who, if the first book is relatively big, I would like all the other books to be just as supplementive, just as expansive on the world building, the story, the plot, and the character development. And For the most part, this was mainly a character development story. We get to see Kyoshi growing and coming a little bit more into her avatar power, and that is great. But also, I wanted more development in the world. We didn't get to see much of how the Fire Nation is really run. I would have liked to have been able to take a deeper look into that. Unfortunately, that just didn't happen. But aside from that, I really, really, really enjoyed reading this book. Let me know if you enjoyed it as well, if you read it, if you're planning on reading it this month. I don't know. That's pretty much all of my thoughts that I have here. If I had done this video right after I'd finished reading, I probably would have had a lot more to say. But I didn't. It's coming out now though, so this is basically all of my thoughts on this book now, so I will wrap this up here. Thank you all so much for watching. Click that like button if you like this video, and subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this. I have a few book reviews on my channel, hoping to get some more out soon. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I will see you again in my next video soon. Bye!